I feel a sense of responsibility. I'm angry at Mark, and I'm angry at a lot of Facebook's leadership for taking something that held so much promise and could have been so amazing and sacrificing quality, security, civility for clicks.
That was Facebook co-founder Chris Hughes with NBC's Kate Snow, and the former roommate of Mark Zuckerberg calling for the breakup of the company, and says Zuckerberg has not been accountable for shareholders. Yesterday, Zuckerberg fired back in a conference call saying the company has plenty of competitors and its scale helps it tackle abuse. Zuckerberg also argued that antitrust remedies would not end up solving the safety issue, something he says regulation needs to tackle. Zuckerberg's call for government oversight has been focused on issues like content moderation, but that wouldn't fundamentally limit Facebook's power. I want to bring in Chris Kelly to this conversation. He's former Facebook chief privacy officer. He was also the company's first general counsel. Also, our guest host this morning is Ben Mesrick, and we welcome both of them to the conversation. Chris, hi. You heard what Mark Zuckerberg said yesterday. Is he right or wrong?
Oh, he's absolutely right. You have to actually have scale in order to address these problems. You know, obviously, some of them are caused by scale, but the only way to have that, you have to have a very profitable company and invest heavily in the artificial intelligence and machine learning that it takes to catch this stuff ahead of time. The company is working very hard at getting better at that.
But Chris, when Mark Zuckerberg says we need regulation, right? Is that a cop-out? Is that effectively not a head fake, but a way to effectively just push off, I don't know if it's the inevitable, but to push off what may be some of the very hard decisions that have to happen there?
No, it's an honest engagement with what the future should look like. It's a thoughtful process of how do we actually address the problems that we're talking about instead of structural remedies. And when I was on last week, one of the things that's missing in a lot of this commentary is understanding that under antitrust law, you actually have to prove a monopoly first. Right. And it's still not even close to clear that there is one for Facebook here. And then from there, you have to decide whether a structural remedy is appropriate. And just to sort of smash the company is not a strategy at the end of the day. The company is talking quite actively about community, and that's what they should be doing right now.
Chris, I don't disagree with you at all, but I think perhaps Ben Mesrick, who's on the set with us, may disagree.
I got to jump in. Sure. I got a couple of things to say. First of all, I think Chris Hughes is very smart, but I disagree with the idea of breaking up Facebook because I think that these things, however, I think these things tend towards monopolies. I don't think you can have Facebook without it dominating, and I think that was always Mark Zuckerberg's goal. I think Facebook is the monster Mark Zuckerberg always wanted to create. I think he's always believed that it should dominate, and that was the word he used in his instant messages when he was making Facebook. And these things, Facebook isn't fun unless all your friends are on Facebook. So if Facebook was broken up, one of these things would become the monopoly. Otherwise, you don't use Facebook. That's why Facebook needs to monopolize this. These technologies, I don't even think the word monopoly works anymore for these technologies. It's not a monopoly in the sense that, nobody can compete with it. It's a monopoly in the sense that we either all use Facebook or none of us use Facebook. So I don't think breaking it up, then we all shift to Instagram or then we all shift to whatever's next. I think the problem is you've got to, and you're saying this as well, you've got to deal with the issues of it. Now, I differ from you in that I think these issues were Zuckerberg's goal all along. I think he doesn't believe in privacy the way we do. I think he always wanted to break down those walls. I think he thinks the world is a better place when we share everything and the world becomes a village. Those were the initial goals of Facebook.
You don't think he's had an evolution in his thought process?
Well, I think he's definitely not the kid he was in college that I wrote about, but I do think he's genuinely surprised when we push back at these things, and then he deals with them with a Band-Aid. Then he's surprised again, then he deals with a Band-Aid.
Chris, you want to take that on?
Sure, absolutely. They're sharing an interconnection, and this is the first time that we've really had a complete interconnection of the world. And it's not even there yet. It's about 2.3 billion on Facebook now. But that complete interconnection of the world, the ability to message everybody else on the network, to share efficiently and effectively, is definitely one of the visions of Facebook. But to do that, you actually have to provide context and privacy and control over time. And that's one of the things that is still sort of embedded deep in the technical architecture of Facebook. And there may have been some changes over time and maybe not enough attention paid to that technical architecture. But that's certainly part of the discussions that we were deeply engaged in when I was there 10 years ago. Those technical underpinnings are still there.
Chris, do you think that the pivot that Mark Zuckerberg is making towards privacy can be accomplished at the same time that the business goals of having this global village,
this dominated village,
exist? Meaning, can you have privacy at the same time that you have this networked world?
I think you can. It's just not what some people have thought of as privacy. If you mean privacy means that I can be a hermit and I can avoid any accountability and nobody ever sees anything that I do, you're not going to have that version of privacy in an interconnected world. It just won't exist anymore. Right. And it never really existed in some ways. But if you're talking about privacy, it means that you get to control your audience. You get to decide who you share what content with. That's a very powerful thing. And the supercomputers that we carry in our pockets that talk to supercomputers in the cloud to help route that content is a massive step forward in human history. Now, it enables people who are bad actors who try to amplify division, and that's one of the things that has to be dealt with. You need more transparency on people not being able to hide behind hide behind rhetoric over time in order to drive that, and that's what Facebook is doing in the political realm right now.
Right. Go ahead. I agree with you on these issues. The part of the privacy and the data stuff that bothers me is the whole idea of targeted ads and user experience. And I keep hearing from Facebook that it enhances your user experience the more data that's shared because the ads are more targeted. Nobody wants any ads, and everyone tries to look away from them.
But nobody also wants to pay for the service either, so you have to figure out a way to do it.
I think that a subscription, as much as people don't want to pay for something, doesn't a subscription method get rid of the targeted ads and get rid of the fact that our data can be sold to somebody else?
So again, the company has always had a policy of not selling personally identifiable data. It provides a targeting mechanism based on demographic characteristics, et cetera, which I thought when I was there, and I still think, is a principled privacy stance. Now, from there, obviously, people don't love advertising in any context. They're not going to love it when it comes on in the next commercial break on CNBC either.
Right.
You have to actually think about how the business model works. And one of the key things that Facebook has tried to do is provide a free service to the world that provides this interconnection. Paying for that, they've managed to build a great business that allows them to invest billions of dollars now in some of the problems that interconnection creates. And that's what they seem to be focused on.
Chris, we got to run. We got to run, but I just need to ask real quick. I've talked about this idea of know your customer, that maybe there's so many fake accounts. Is there a different way to solve that? And also, we were talking about the live video yesterday. Yeah. Should that be allowed? Should it be the idea that you can broadcast to everybody in one shot? Yeah. Shouldn't there either be a delay or some kind of closed system?
Well, the one-strike policy that they've adopted now, I think, is probably the right way to go at this point. You don't want to discourage people from using a new tool and discovering sort of great new uses for it. But generally speaking, obviously, if somebody's setting something up, there will be other indicia of problems beforehand, and you can cut them off.